Right, welcome to TKO Boxing. This is a new YouTube channel that we've decided to start. And basically, our first video is going to be reacting to last night's fight, or exhibition, I should say, between Logan Paul and Floyd Mayweather. So, I mean, wow. What did you think, Ben?
Well, disappointed with the result. I honestly think Mayweather needed to win, but it is what it is, isn't it?
Yeah, do you agree with that, Scott?
Yeah, it's an interesting one, weren't it? I still can't figure out whether Logan Paul seemed to have a bit of a chin on him. He took the shots quite well, but I don't know whether Mayweather was just purposely holding back all the power just to make it all look good. I'm still undecided on that, really. But I don't know. To be fair to Logan, you know, he looked like he trained for it. People will say, "Oh, he's taking the piss and stuff," but I think for him, I think he's actually taken it serious. And whether I don't think it was a question of whether he should be in these kind of fights, because he shouldn't. He's not earned the right to be there, but he's been given the opportunity, and he seems to be at least taking it serious. He's looked in shape. He looked to have done the groundwork, the basics of boxing, and he looked to have trained hard for it. But it weren't a convincing fight, was it at all?
No, not at all. I think that's the thing, isn't it? People are criticizing him, saying he shouldn't be there. And, I can't blame him. I'm sure if somebody said to me, with the reported purses of $20 million for the fight, I'd happily get in there with Floyd Mayweather for $20 million. So you can't blame him. And, everyone forgets, although he's done it at a very different level, he has been boxing for a couple of years. And with the sort of notoriety that him and his brother have got, they do have access to some really good trainers. I did do a little bit of research of who they've been in with, and it is quite impressive in fairness. So, he's going to have picked up the basics, sort of as you just alluded to there, Scott. But I mean, for me, it's just so damaging to boxing. The fact that, I watched it and I'd probably say Floyd won 7 of the 8 rounds, but because of it, the exhibition rules, and there was no judges there, it had to be a knockout, didn't it? And, a lot of people are talking about it actually being a moral victory for Logan Paul because he went the distance, didn't it? And I think Carl Froch hit the nail on the head last week when he sort of said, like, if Floyd Mayweather doesn't knock him out, it's so damaging to the sport of boxing, because we all talk about Floyd Mayweather being the probably the best fighter of certainly the last 30 years, but he's definitely in the conversation for the best ever. And I think that's what it is, really. I don't know where you go with it from there. There's talk of now, there's all sorts of different YouTubers, all sorts of different fighters looking at exhibitions. And would you guys want to see more of these? What do you think?
See, my thing is, them fighting each other, not an issue. When you're in with, like, you're calling out the boxers, like Jake Paul going after Canelo was just a joke. But then with Mayweather and Logan, they're just going to do it again for a bigger purse this time. It's like, yeah, Mayweather didn't knock him out, but he's going to get paid again to knock him out this time, and the second time he will.
Do you think he will? Because I mean, a little bit of me did think when I saw the size differences, there was 35 pounds, I think, was the difference at the weigh-ins. So, that's. Go on, sorry, Scott.
Sorry, Josh. I was going to say, do you reckon like that makes it that kind of really disrespects the lower weight classes now? Like those that don't know too much about boxing are suddenly going to think that the likes of the lightweights and the super lightweights who are still, if one of us got punched by one of them, they'd still put us out easily. But you know what I mean? Like, are people just going to look at that now and think, oh, like someone like Logan can step in with someone like that weight? The division's a joke. I mean, we can't forget that. What's Mayweather now? 50 years old. He's probably been out back past his prime for like 8 years. He's not really.
Yeah, well, he's 40. He's 44, and his last professional fight, if you want to call it that, was obviously against Conor McGregor nearly 4 years ago, and then his last definite professional fight was against Andre Berto 2 years before that. So you're talking about someone who's not had potentially a proper fight against a world-class boxer in 6 years. So yeah, there's arguments to and from. Certainly, I think you're right. The casual fan's going to think, oh, these lighter divisions look a joke. But we're boxing fans. There are a lot of boxing fans, and I think it's just outrageous, isn't it? Like, I couldn't believe it when I honestly thought you know, with the exhibition rules, they'll have agreed to not knock each other out in the first couple of rounds. But I thought third, fourth, or fifth round, Logan will go down, or even it would like the ref would just have to step in, and it would just get stopped. That was what I thought may happen. So,
I think the most damaging part for me is the fact young boxers up and coming. They're going to think, why do I have to work hard to get there? If I just get followed on social media, I can get the big fights, skip the little fights to get where I have to. I can walk straight into a big name. I think that's where it's most damaging. Because Logan Paul, he's never fought anyone, but yet he gets to walk in at the top. So if you're a young boxer coming up who has got talent, why have the 10 fights against nobodies? I know. I'll build my name up outside the ring. I'll jump in against a name straight away. I think that's where it's going to get damaging.
And to be fair, you could argue that that's what's happened with Tommy Fury. I mean, it was mad that I saw an interview from his dad earlier on, and he was saying that it didn't go, it went the distance, but you know, Tommy was out in Miami 2 weeks ago partying it up, and I was thinking, but you're trying to sell this guy as a serious boxer, and that's exactly it, isn't it? Like, I'm not saying Tommy Fury's a bad fighter, he could be good, but he definitely shouldn't be where he is. But unfortunately, because of the pull of social media, he's a lot bigger ticket than he would be if he wasn't that social media star. So it doesn't just stop at the likes of Logan, does it? We are starting to see that in the actual boxing world of people. And it's mad that he's calling out, he'd rather fight Jake Paul than an actual fighter. I find that mad as well.
Tommy's name got him to the social media stardom. If he didn't have Fury at the end, he wouldn't be where he was at all. I think that's the thing. I'm on about just a normal person. They're going to go social media straight away. But Tommy Fury still had the push with the name. And then obviously the social media has now helped him and he's using it to his benefit. But I just think YouTubers fighting YouTubers are fine. Going after proper names, you've got to earn the right.
No, I would agree with that, to be fair. You know, YouTubers fighting fellow YouTubers, fine. There's going to be an intrigue. You know, these guys have got millions of subscribers and views. So I understand that. But, I mean, now, I'll be honest, I woke up this morning and felt like when I saw about Jake Paul talking about Canelo, I actually thought, yeah, Canelo needs to get in the ring with him and just end this YouTube boxing thing.
Yeah.
Because that's what would happen in reality. You know, it's a very different prospect, as you said, Scott, to fighting Floyd Mayweather, who's, you know, minimum 6 years, probably past his best. And there was talk of it before then, in fairness, you know, people saying he didn't quite have the reactions that he'd previously shown. And then, you know, fighting Canelo, who is one of, if not the best pound for pound fighter on the planet, depending on who you ask. So I don't know where we go from here. There's all sorts of talk today, as there would be, of future, you know, whether it be a Logan Paul Floyd Mayweather rematch. I mean, Mayweather did say afterwards, didn't he, that, you know, he probably wouldn't do any more of these exhibitions. And, you know, the one thing I would just like to, before we wrap it up, just say that he did say, which I actually thought, in a way, I can understand it. Obviously, they questioned like how damaging is this to his legacy, because a lot of ex-opponents of his have come out and sort of said like this is woeful. And he did say, well, legacy is one thing, but, you know, my kids can't eat legacy. And, you know, they're talking about the various money. He'll probably end up making $100 million for the fight or exhibition. So do you blame Floyd for taking the fight?
He's the money man, isn't he? Floyd, the money Mayweather. I mean, and it's one of them, isn't it? I don't think I do blame him. How can you blame him when the money's on the table? It's not like he can actually step in with the proper pros now. So, you know, and you have to question whether YouTube boxing has got so big, and I'm sure we'll cover this on another video that we'll do. But as YouTube boxing got so big because of the way that boxing's gone, I mean, let's not pretend that Floyd Pacquiao shouldn't have happened like, what, 2-3 years at least before it should have. I mean, you've also got the whole Fury Joshua debacle that's gone on, and that's been ridiculous. And that they're just two examples. This is going on across boxing, but fans aren't seeing the fights they want, which now means people are turning their attention elsewhere, possibly to these sort of fights because they're more entertaining. Because at the end of the day, who wants to pay £20 to, I mean, the Dubois fight, let's just talk about that quickly as an example. That bloke was just put in there to blatantly make Dubois look good after his loss, and it was that obvious. It wasn't really entertaining to watch. So in one way, I'm kind of like, how can you actually blame some people to decide, you know what, I actually want to watch these big spectacles where you've got Migos coming out with Mayweather, and you know, it's more of a spectacle, isn't it? And okay, the Dubois fight was free, but you know, it wasn't entertaining. I didn't enjoy it.
No, I didn't actually catch the Dubois fight. I've seen the knockout. I mean, I was probably guilty before it of thinking, you look at Dinu's record and it wasn't too bad, to be honest. He'd only ever lost when he stepped up. I did think it was a bit ambitious that the interim WBA title got put on the line, but that's a separate story. But yeah, like you said, when you see the size difference between them, and Dinu didn't exactly look ambitious, did he? It does make you sort of question the validity of it. But I mean, we'll have to do a video on Dubois because I've got a lot of opinions on him. But that sort of sums up his career up until he fought Joyce. It sort of, he'd backed himself into a corner of fighting nobodies. You know, the previous biggest win on his record was probably bloody Nathan Gorman. And then obviously he got shown where he's true level, didn't he? So yeah, I mean, we'll wrap up now. So like, sort of, any final thoughts, Ben?
No, I think we've covered everything with the Logan Paul Mayweather. But you're right, there's a lot to cover with Dubois, and that's probably going to be when he fights Joyce for a second time, which I can see coming. I'm sure
that'll happen too. Anything from you, Scott?
No, boxing side, not really, but just to tell everyone to press that like button and subscribe to the channel.
Yep, I was just about to say. So we are new here, so as Scott said, like and subscribe. We're also on Instagram at TKO Boxing 2021. And very soon we'll have a TikTok for you as well, which is something a little bit different. So yeah, cheers guys.
Cheers.